Discover the heartwarming moment when a K-9 and soldier exposed an incredible SOS from a 5-year-old. Jessica was rushing around the local diner, the scent of bacon and fresh coffee filling the air. She was wiping down tables, flipping burgers, and trying to catch a moment to breathe, but all she could think about was her spirited 5-year-old son, Tommy. Every penny she earned mattered. Each day felt like a marathon, but Jessica was as determined as they come. She had to provide for Tommy, to show him that love and hard work could conquer anything. Suddenly, her phone buzzed violently on the counter. Her heart sank as she answered, breath-catching. Tommy was missing. Panic crashed over her like a tidal wave, the bustling diner fading away in a blur of chaos. The words echoed in her mind, "Mom, I'm lost." She could feel her world crumbling around her. Frantically, she raced out of the diner, screaming for help, fear gripping her throat like a vice. Within minutes, the news spread through the small Midwestern town. Concerned neighbors flooded into the streets. Sergeant Mike, a local veteran haunted by memories of battle scars, sensed the urgency gripping the community. Mike's heart raced against the weight of his own demons, but the thought of that little boy sent a surge of determination through him. He couldn't sit idly as this mother suffered. This was his chance to find healing in helping others. With his loyal K-9 partner, Rex, at his side, they dashed into the nearby woods where Tommy loved to play, not letting the shadows of their pasts hold them back. As twilight painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, the townsfolk joined the search, a testament to their tight-knit community. Hope flickered like the dying light as Rex sniffed the ground, ears perking up. He had picked up a scent: Tommy's favorite blanket. It felt like they were on the cusp of something miraculous. However, as minutes turned into hours, Jessica felt despair scraping at her heart, a pit swallowing her hope. Yet, the townspeople never wavered. They combed through the woods, calling Tommy's name in a chorus of love and unity, their shared spirits igniting a flame of resilience. Just when the darkness threatened to snuff out all hope, a burst of barking shattered the silence. Rex was relentless, darting toward an old, forgotten treehouse nestled between two towering oaks. With adrenaline fueling them, Mike and the townsfolk raced after him, hearts pounding. In that moment, time stopped. They discovered the treehouse, its wooden structure a prison for a playful boy too proud to ask for help. Tommy was there, eyes wide and innocent, trapped in his own adventure. As Mike pulled him from his entrapment, the emotional reunion sent waves of relief through everyone present, especially Jessica. She reached out for her son, tears streaming down her face as they embraced. Each sob was a release of fear, a testament to a mother's fierce love. The sweet thrill of victory electrified the crowd. They celebrated family, hope, and the heroism of Mike and Rex. But amidst the joyful chaos, there lingered an unspoken question: could this experience bring redemption to the soldier battling his past demons? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the night cloaked the town in warmth and camaraderie, Jessica clutched Tommy tightly, her heart brimming with gratitude. The storm had passed, but the bonds forged in unity felt unbreakable. As the townspeople rallied around them, hope surged that maybe, just maybe, those with wounds could find healing in a community bound by love and resilience. What would tomorrow bring for these battered souls on a journey of rediscovery together? The morning sun pierced through the curtains, casting golden beams across Jessica's face. She stirred awake, her mind still tangled in the aftermath of the previous night. Tommy's laughter from the other room was a melody she never wanted to end. It was a reminder that he was here, safe and sound. Relief washed over her, mingling with the ache of sleeplessness, wrapping her in a warm embrace. Mom! Look! I'm a pirate! Tommy's voice rang through the house, followed by the clatter of utensils. He was flinging a makeshift eye patch over his face and brandishing a wooden spoon as if it were a sword. Jessica couldn't help but laugh, her heart swelling with joy. A pirate, huh? Are you going to find treasure today? She called back, rising to join him. Yes. I need a crew. He spun around, eyes alive with mischief. In that moment, the shadows of worry lifted, leaving only the brilliant light of innocence. But in the back of her mind, Jessica felt the fear lurking just beneath the surface, the fear of losing him again. It settled like a weight in her chest, she couldn't shake it. Meanwhile, Mike stood in his living room, staring at the medals hanging on his wall. They shone brightly, but the glint reminded him of battles lost, not won. Last night had been a victory, yes. Yet, the darkness within still tugged at him, whispering reminders of past choices and unhealed wounds. Rex lay at his feet, a comforting presence grounding him. Good boy, Mike murmured, ruffling Rex's fur. The K9 looked up, eyes full of understanding. They had both fought their own battles, and somehow last night had forged a bond between them that was stronger than words. But as he prepared to step out into the world again, the heaviness in his heart felt relentless. He grabbed his phone, tapping the screen to check for updates from the search scene. He still couldn't shake off that nagging question, could he truly be a source of strength for others when he so often felt weak? At the diner, Jessica resumed her morning rush, serving customers who buzzed with excitement from the previous night's heroic efforts. They shared stories about the search, how strength and courage surged when they realized Tommy was just a treehouse away. Isn't it amazing what a community can do? An elderly woman chuckled, eyes sparkling with pride. Yes, it really is, Jessica said, the warmth spreading through her like a bomb. Each conversation filled her with renewed hope, reminding her of the love that surrounded her family. Still, she couldn't fully shake the night's events from her mind. After work, she planned to gather with the townspeople in the park for an impromptu celebration, a chance to come together and share laughter once more. But her own heart tugged at her. Wasn't there something more she should be doing? There were others who hadn't been so fortunate, families that still faced unknown dangers in their lives. As she finalized her shift, an idea sparked within her. Maybe I could organize something longer lasting, she whispered to herself, thinking of ways to protect and support other families in need. Little did she know, her determination would ignite not just a community effort but also draw in those struggling with their own battles, including Mike, who desperately needed hope himself. Soon, the park began to fill with laughter, food, and the smell of freshly baked goods. People hugged each other, sharing their stories of relief and joy. But amidst it all, Jessica felt a spark of connection, a yearning to help her community heal from the deeper wounds of life. Would the joy of the celebration lead to something greater? Could her call for unity inspire healing deeply embedded in the hearts around her? As the sun set, promising a new dawn, Jessica stepped onto the makeshift stage, heart pounding with the weight of anticipation and excitement. Might we find something we've been looking for all along? She began, searching the faces before her, each one a source of spirit and strength. And as those words hung in the air, one thing became clear: new adventures awaited. But what would Jessica uncover amid the echoes of those heartfelt connections? Jessica took a deep breath, her heart racing in time with the thrumming music of the crowd. The park was alive with chatter and laughter, but beneath it all, there was an undercurrent of hope. She leaned into the microphone, wanting her words to carry across the gathering like a gentle breeze. Tonight, we celebrate not just our victory, but each other, our strength as a community, she said, feeling the warmth of their shared experiences. She scanned the crowd, her gaze landing on families who had leaned on one another for support, just like she had. The crowd erupted into cheers, and she couldn't help but smile. Each of us has faced fears, losses, and uncertainties. But here we are, together. Tommy waved from the front, still wearing his eye patch, his wooden spoon resting on a picnic table. His enthusiasm made her heart swell. Jessica realized that even in the midst of fear, joy could thrive. That was something she absolutely had to share with everyone here. Let us take this feeling, this bond we've created, she continued, her voice getting stronger, and make it last. Let us help each other. Let us organize more events, find ways to support those struggling in silence. As she spoke, she noticed Mike standing at the edge of the crowd, a hesitant smile peeking through his rugged expression. He had been a quiet presence since last night, observing rather than engaging. Jessica felt a pang of empathy. She wondered what battles he was still fighting. Suddenly, someone yelled out, "How can we help?" Jessica felt a surge of energy. This wasn't just her mission, it was theirs too. We can start by hosting workshops, fundraisers. Maybe even a community center where families can share their stories and resources. Ideas began flying around, voices ringing with excitement. A woman spoke about food drives, while another offered to teach budgeting skills. The possibilities swirled in the air, and Jessica's heart raced with anticipation. As she stepped back, a flicker of doubt passed through her. Had she opened a door that called for more than she was ready to give? This was bigger than her, and just as she thought that, Tommy ran up to her, breathless and beaming. "Mom! Can I help too? I want to dig for treasure to help other people's." He climbed on a chair, swinging his spoon like a sword again. Laughter erupted, and for a moment, all worry seemed to fade away. "Of course, my little pirate," she said, and something broke free inside her. This was it. Hope was wrapped in their innocence. But Mike stepped forward, gaze intense. "I'd like to help too," he said, voice steady, yet it carried the weight of something deeper. "My team and we can offer training and support for anyone struggling." Jessica's breath caught. Could Mike truly see himself as part of this community? The crowd hushed, letting the weight of his words settle in. She dared to meet his eyes, a connection sparking between them, two people shaped by their battles, now standing together for a greater cause. Even with uncertainty hovering above, something remarkable was brewing. The promise of support, of reaching out to one another, pulsed through the crowd. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of orange and pink, Jessica felt their collective hope radiate in waves. Moments like this could birth change, she realized. But as the night deepened, shadows began creeping back into her thoughts. Would their efforts be enough? And what about the families still lost in darkness? She looked back at Mike, who was now speaking with several townsfolk. The questions lingered: would he find his own healing through this shared journey? Or perhaps, just maybe, this community of warriors would transform them all. Jessica's heart raced as she stepped down from the makeshift stage. She was ready to take the plunge, but what uncharted waters would they discover together? The night air had turned cool, wrapping around Jessica like a comforting embrace. She moved among the crowd, still feeling the electric buzz of excitement, but the weight in her heart remained. There was so much to do, so many needs unfulfilled. Tommy darted around with his spoon, rallying kids to join him in imaginary treasure hunts. Their laughter was infectious, grounding her as she watched them play. Yet, in the background, she couldn't shake the feeling of urgency. She had ignited a flame, but how would they keep it burning? Mike had stepped away from the group, his earlier confidence faltering as he leaned against a tree, his eyes shadowed. Jessica approached, heart pounding. She didn't want to pry but felt drawn to him. "Hey," she said softly, trying to bridge the distance between them. "You were amazing up there." He turned, surprise flickering across his features before he managed a small smile. "Thanks. I just realized. I'm not used to being part of something like this." "Neither am I," she replied, feeling the bond forming. "But look at everyone. They're ready to change things, to help each other. Together, we can make a difference." I want to, but he hesitated, struggling to find the right words. I've seen a lot. It's hard to believe we can truly help everyone. I get it, Jessica said, her voice earnest. But sometimes just showing up, offering support, that's enough to start. We can't fix everything alone, but we're here. Mike searched her eyes, and she could see the weight he carried. I want to believe that. There's a lot of hurt in this world. Jessica felt a pang of empathy. She had fought her own battles, but perhaps Mike needed someone to reflect his feelings back at him to remind him that healing was not just for others but for him too. What if we made the first workshop about sharing our stories? She suggested. A safe space to connect, to let people know they're not alone. The corners of his mouth lifted just slightly. That sounds good. Getting people to open up, it could help. As they talked, the enthusiasm around them began to bubble up again. Jessica's spirits lifted as she looked back to see families excitedly discussing plans at the picnic tables. The energy was contagious, and she felt hope begin to thaw the shadows in her heart. But just then, a commotion broke out near the playground. A little girl's cry pierced through the laughter, sending a jolt through the crowd. Jessica's stomach twisted as she glanced at Mike. Stay here, she said, despite her instinct to rush. Running toward the sound, Jessica found a small girl, her face streaked with tears, clutching onto a stuffed animal. My puppy. He ran away. Her voice trembled, and desperation shimmered in her eyes. A surge of compassion washed over Jessica. We'll find him together. What's your puppy's name? She asked gently, kneeling to the girl's level. Toby. He's little and brown. Jessica's own heart ached. Okay, let's gather everyone. We'll turn this into a treasure hunt just like Tommy. We'll find Toby. Determination mingled with fear as she turned back to call for help. Tommy, sensing the urgency, rallied the kids around him. Mike stepped forward, his face set with resolve. I'll help too, he said firmly. Let's see if any of my friends can help us search. Jessica's heart flooded with gratitude. This was the moment she could feel it. The community was beginning to solidify, and in the face of uncertainty, they were coming together. But as they spread out, searching under benches and along paths, a thought flickered in her mind. Would they find what they were looking for? Would Toby come back? And in seeking him, would they uncover even deeper truths about their own struggles? As the search intensified, Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that more was at stake than just a lost puppy. Perhaps this was only the beginning of something bigger, a challenge that would change them all in ways they hadn't expected. Jessica scanned the area, her heart racing as the laughter of children faded against the urgency of the search. Toby. Where are you? She called out, the words echoing through the park. She could feel the weight of the little girl's tears pressing down on her. This was more than just a dog. It embodied trust and a sense of home for that child. Tommy had gathered a small crew of kids, who were now buzzing with energy and ideas. We can check the bushes. One shouted. Another suggested looking in the trees. Their innocent excitement felt like a stark contrast to Jessica's swirling doubts. Did they even know what kind of worry the girl felt? Mike moved close to her, his expression mirroring her concern. What if he really is lost? His voice was low, almost afraid to voice the worst-case scenario. Then we won't stop looking. We'll send out the message to every corner of this park, Jessica said firmly, trying to infuse hope into the air. She could see that Mike was searching for strength, and somehow, she needed to project that fire back to him. Together they began to split up, scouring the park in different directions. Jessica's eyes were sharp, every rustle of leaves, every bark of a distant dog made her heart flutter. She envisioned the little girl's desperate search for comfort within a world that felt chaotic. Wasn't it true that everyone carried a piece of hurt? As Jessica glanced over towards the playground again, she noted the kids had formed a line, holding hands like a chain, spreading out to cover more ground. Their innocence propelled the search as they investigated every nook and cranny. "Over here!" shouted one of the children, excitement woven into their voice. Jessica raced over, heart pounding. They had found something a little collar, shiny and golden, but it was empty. Jessica's stomach dropped. In the meantime, Mike was speaking with a couple of older kids who happened to be passing by. They had dogs of their own and immediately offered to help. The expansion of their search team instinctively brought warmth to Jessica's heart. She felt a spark of hope amidst the ache. "What if we all shout his name?" one of the teenagers suggested. "Toby!" echoed across the park, each voice layered over the other, creating a choir of desperation and desire. "Let us do it!" Jessica rallied the kids around her, and they formed a circle. "On the count of 3, we'll call for Toby together." The countdown seemed electric. 1, 2, 3. They shouted as if the sound could break through the sorrow, each name carrying a piece of the little girl's heart with it. But minutes stretched like hours. Jessica could see the concern growing on the smaller kids' faces. Some whispered to one another, their little brows furrowed, while others remained hopeful, glancing around eagerly for any sign. Then suddenly, a familiar bark rang out from behind a row of bushes. Jessica's heart leaped as she took off running. The children followed her, their excitement igniting like fireworks. Peeking through the leaves, Jessica spotted a small brown creature, not just a dog, but Toby, his tail wagging furiously, tongue out, looking unbothered by the commotion. "That's him!" she shouted, joy unbridling in her voice. The little girl broke free from the crowd, her eyes wide as she charged towards Toby. "Toby!" she cried, her tears turning into laughter as she knelt down to the ground, open arms waiting for the joy of reunion. Jessica's chest swelled, not just from the sight of the two reconnecting but from the realization that together, they had created a safe space for vulnerability, hope, and community. As the little girl hugged her puppy tightly, Jessica caught Mike's eye, and they exchanged a knowing smile. This was just the beginning of something powerful. But then, amidst the laughter, Jessica felt the pull again. What about the deeper stories, the bigger struggles that everyone faced? Would they be brave enough to share them? As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden light over the park, Jessica felt a shift within herself. Just like Toby had returned, perhaps. There were other lost things in their lives waiting to be found. And as the last echoes of Toby's barks faded into the dusk, Jessica knew a choice had to be made. What if they could create a place where those stories turned from pain into healing? Would they find the courage to face their own truths? The park felt different now, electric with the warmth of reunited spirits. Laughter danced through the air as the little girl held Toby close, her smile breaking through the remnants of anxiety that had haunted the search. But as joyful as this moment was, Jessica couldn't shake the deeper questions swirling in her mind. "Let us sit in the grass," Mike suggested, with a subtle nudge toward a lush patch nearby. Jessica nodded, following him as they made their way to the spot where the children were now playing happily, blissfully unaware of the shadows just beneath the surface. As they settled down, Jessica couldn't help but think about the difference one small act of courage made today. "Mike," she started, her voice barely above a whisper, "do you think we could summon the same energy for something bigger? I mean, a space where people can share stories, get to know each other beyond just a game of tag or looking for lost dogs?" Mike turned to her, his brow furrowing as he processed her thoughts. "You mean like a community gathering? A way to connect deeper?" "I like that." His voice trailed off, and she could see the wheels turning in his head. There was something captivating about the way people came together for a single purpose. If they could do it for a lost dog, what could they accomplish for each other's hearts? Meanwhile, a small boy ran up to them, panting slightly as he slid onto the grass beside them. "Did you see Toby? I thought he was gone forever." His face was a blend of exuberance and relief, and Jessica watched his eyes sparkle. We did, Jessica replied, ruffling his hair. He's back, and he's safe. Yeah. We're like superheroes. The boy exclaimed with a laugh. Jessica exchanged a quick smile with Mike. If the children could feel this powerful connection through teamwork and worry, couldn't the adults, too? After all, weren't they all wrestling with their own struggles? Think about it, Mike said, starting to catch her drift. We could have parents share their stories, maybe even kids, too. It could be a safe space, you know. Jessica nodded eagerly. A potluck. A storytelling night? There's so much pain and isolation out there, and maybe all it takes is one person to raise a hand and say, I need help. The energy shifted around them. Children played in the background while adults mingled, some looking over with curious eyes. Jessica felt the time was right. Taking a deep breath, she stood up. Hey, everyone. Can I have your attention, please? A small hush fell over the park as heads turned toward her. The laughter faded, replaced by an anticipatory silence. We just brought Toby home, but I was thinking maybe this park can be a home for something bigger. What if we started a community gathering, a place to share stories, to find support and to connect? What do you think? A few children clapped, and Mike encouraged them with a thumbs up. Gradually, murmurs spread through the crowd, some nodding, others looking intrigued. One woman stepped forward, her face thoughtful. That sounds like a wonderful idea. We could all use a little more connection. I want to tell my story, shouted one little girl, her excitement infectious. Jessica felt a spark of hope ignite in her chest. They all craved community, but what would it take to kickstart such a heartfelt initiative? As the sun sank lower, casting a golden glow over their faces, questions bubbled to the surface. How would they organize it? Who would share their stories first? Yet, amidst the uncertainty, an exhilarating sense of possibility loomed. Let us meet again to discuss our ideas, Mike suggested, feeling the energy shift into motion. Definitely, Jessica agreed, her heart racing. This could be the beginning of something incredible. But as conversations erupted around her, she felt a pull again, something deep inside reminding her that not all stories have happy endings. How many were still locked away, longing to be shared? With a glance at Toby and the joyful children playing, she knew one thing: when you open a door for others, you risk revealing the depths of your own struggles. Would they find the strength to face what lay hidden under the surface? The longing for connection buzzed in the air, carrying the weight of unuttered stories. Jessica smiled, feeling the thrill of possibility. She was ready, but was everyone else? The moment hung in the air, electric and alive, as Jessica looked at the faces around her. Each expression told a story, a fragment of a life filled with joys and burdens. She could sense their skepticism, but also the yearning for deeper connection. What if we started this gathering next week? Mike suggested, cutting through her thoughts. It'll give us time to spread the word and gather some support. Jessica felt a tinge of excitement but also a flicker of doubt. What if nobody comes? What if it flops? It's scary to put ourselves out there. We'll never know unless we try, right? Mike smiled, his confidence reassuring. People are looking for this. Trust me. Just like we did today, we came together, bonded over a common goal. This could be even bigger. The bubbling laughter of children brought her back to the present. She saw parents chatting, their bodies leaning in closer, sharing small laughs and knowing glances. Wasn't this what connections looked like? Maybe they just needed a little nudge. What if we open it up to themes? Jessica ventured, her voice gaining strength. We could have nights focused on family stories, others on struggles or victories. Each gathering could resonate with different emotions, inviting more people to share. That's it. Mike's eyes lit up. You're onto something. We can make space for light and heavy stories alike. And just like that, other voices began to rise from the park. The initial murmurs of excitement grew louder. Someone suggested a theme night for holidays, another wanted to share tales of loss and healing. Jessica felt the crowd swell with possibility, each idea layering upon the last like a beautiful tapestry weaving their lives together. But beneath the surface of exhilaration, something darker simmered. Jessica's mind drifted to the whispers of pain she hadn't yet addressed hers, and perhaps others, too. What about the stories we're afraid to tell? She wondered aloud, her voice quieter now. A woman stepped forward, nodding slowly as if Jessica had given voice to her own fears. I have stories that haunt me. I don't know if I can share them. Jessica took a step closer, meeting her gaze. That's okay. We don't need to rush into anything. This is a safe place. We'll all share our stories when we're ready. There was a palpable shift, the weight of silence wrapped around them as people considered the idea of vulnerability. It was thrilling and frightening in equal measure. As dusk began to settle in, casting shadows that danced on the grass, Jessica felt warmth fill her heart. She took a breath, feeling proud but scared. They were on the edge of something transformative, yet so fragile. Let us not just gather for the hard stuff, one man piped up, his voice firm. Let us make it a celebration of life, too. Potlucks, music, games for kids, something fun amid the weighty stories. Laughter erupted again, lightening the mood, and Jessica realized how crucial that balance was. Healing didn't always have to come from pain, joy was just as vital. With plans forming, excitement spread through the crowd. Jessica's heart soared at the thought of their collective energy transforming into something real and impactful. But a nagging thought lingered behind her growing hope: would they truly be able to share the heavy burdens, the pain that intertwined with their individual narratives? All right, let us say we meet next Saturday, Mike declared, for the first gathering. We'll spread the word. Who's in? Hands shot up in the air, a wave of enthusiasm that swept over them. But each hand raised also felt like another commitment to potential heartache. Jessica smiled through her tension, filled with apprehension for what the next Saturday might unveil. As the gathering began to disperse, she caught Toby sitting at the feet of the little girl, their bond unspeakably strong, reminding her that sometimes, even in darkness, the light would bravely push through. Could they embrace the pain together and still find the joy in the stories they shared? Would the ultimate gathering reveal far more than they had anticipated? Jessica looked around, filled with hope, but the question lingered in her mind. As the warm air wrapped around her, she knew they were just at the beginning. What awaited them next? The days leading up to Saturday blurred together in a whirlwind of preparation, anticipation, and tiny moments of self-doubt. Jessica found herself volunteered for everything from spreading flyers on community boards to organizing snacks for the gathering. Each task came packed with energy, but it also ignited that familiar pit of anxiety in her stomach. On the morning of the event, the sun cast gentle rays across the park, painting the place in golden hues. Jessica arrived early, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. She set up tables with brightly colored tablecloths, anxious to create a welcoming space for anyone who stepped through the park gate. As families began to trickle in, she caught sight of familiar faces. Mike waved energetically, excited as he helped a couple of kids set up a game, while others had already pulled out instruments and begun practicing tunes that added rhythm to the air. A light breeze carried laughter, mingling with the sweet sense of grilled food wafting from a nearby grill. Each small interaction reminded Jessica of their collective purpose. She could feel a spark of something budding, like spring blooms breaking through winter's frost. Yet the shadows of doubt still loomed. Would anyone show up? Would they feel comfortable sharing? The what-ifs spiraled through her mind, but she silenced them with a determined breath. Soon, the park was buzzing with people. A little girl in bright yellow overalls sprinted past, her laughter infectious as it bubbled from her. A vivid reminder of innocence, the very thing that made sharing stories both essential and nerve-wracking. It was a strange contrast, a sanctuary filled with joyful noise and unspoken fears lurking just beneath the surface. Jessica spotted the woman from the last gathering, the one who had hesitated to share her struggles. Today, she arrived with a friend, both holding hands and wearing tentative smiles. That gave Jessica a flicker of hope. If they could take this step, maybe others could too. As the gathering officially kicked off, Jessica stood at the small podium, her nerves wrestled down into a gentle resolve. She welcomed everyone with a warm smile, her voice steady. "Thank you all for being here. This is a space for all of us to share, to listen, and to celebrate. Let us embrace every story, no matter how big or small." There was something about her words that felt like a call to action. She could see it in their eyes, a quiet recognition of the shared human experience. Someone finally spoke up and shared a story of overcoming a personal battle with anxiety. Others followed, each narrative deepening the connection amongst them. As moments unfolded, every story made the gathering feel like a blanket of comfort wrapping around those who spoke and those who listened. Laughter mingled with tears, and there was a shared understanding, a recognition of both the light and the dark that existed within all their lives. But just as the atmosphere reached a beautiful crescendo, a piercing bark fractured the quiet. Everyone turned to see a K-9 officer and his loyal German shepherds bounding into the space. Focus shifted as the dog sat down right at the feet of the little girl in yellow overalls. At first, it seemed like a charming surprise, but then tension sparked. What was happening? From the handler's lips came a strange story, one where the puppy had merely seemed to sense something unusual, sniffing the air and signaling in urgency. There was a sudden shift in the air, the buzz of joy morphing into concern. "Is everything all right?" Jessica's voice trembled beneath the sudden weight of looming dread. She couldn't shake the feeling that the gathering had unlocked something powerful, something vulnerable. But now, an SOS of its own seemed to emerge, intertwined with the joyous threads of their stories. What had become a shared moment was suddenly fraught with tension. Jessica felt her heart race. Could this unexpected turn lead to uncovering the truth behind unmentionable shadows? What secret sat beneath the surface waiting to be revealed? The palpable tension hung in the air, thick enough to touch. Jessica's breath hitched as she searched the faces around her. Mothers looked worried, and children, once filled with laughter, now stood frozen in place, eyes darting to the dog and the handler. Jessica felt the weight of responsibility settle over her like a heavy blanket. No longer was this just a gathering, it was now a moment where something deeper hung in the balance. "Stay calm," the K-9 officer instructed, his steady voice projecting authority and reassurance. "This is just a precaution. We want to make sure everyone is safe." He knelt beside the dog, patting its head while keeping a watchful eye on the surroundings. The girl in yellow overalls blinked, her innocent gaze locked on the dog. Jessica's heart sank for her. The playful energy had seeped away, replaced by confusion and unease. What could have triggered this response? As the officer moved closer to the girl, more whispers began to ripple through the crowd. Adults leaned in, some covering their mouths as they speculated. Jessica wanted to reach out, to soothe the air thick with worries, but she felt her own uncertainty choke her words. She just stood there. "Is it me?" the girl suddenly asked, her voice barely a whisper. It sliced through the anxious murmurs like a knife, and everyone turned to look at her, their gazes softening a touch. "No, sweet girl," the officer replied gently. "Sometimes, dogs have a sixth sense. They know when people need help." The reassurance hung in the air, dangling between hope and fear. Jessica's protective instincts kicked in. She stepped closer, kneeling down to meet the girl's eye level. "You're okay. We're all okay. Look, the puppy is just being a hero right now," she said, trying to infuse some warmth into the moment. The child nodded slowly, yet Jessica could see the hint of fear still lingering. Moments passed in silence while everyone held their breath, waiting for the officer to reveal more. Then, a sudden rustle disturbed the stillness. A woman in the crowd began to cry. The sound was raw, filled with a mix of relief and fear. Jessica turned to see it was the hesitant storyteller from before. "That's my daughter," she said, her voice shaky. "She's been having a rough time. We didn't know how bad it was. She doesn't speak up about it." In each word, Jessica felt a heavy weight lift and fall at the same time. The gathering had stirred shadows beneath surfaces, but now it seemed those shadows were looking to emerge, to be given a voice. "Is she okay?" the handler asked, glancing back to the girl, a keen eye assessing the situation. Jessica swallowed hard. This was the moment she had hoped for, yet had never prepared herself to handle. Families came together when hidden truths surfaced, but how many could actually face them? As the officer knelt down, she could see that the little girl was instinctively drawn to him, trusting without knowing. It was as if the dog had opened a gateway to connections both tender and scary. "Don't be afraid, sweetheart," the officer told her softly. "Sometimes it's the things we don't say that can cause a lot of fear. Talking helps more than you know. Would you like to share something with us?" Jessica could feel everyone's eyes on the little girl, hearts collectively hopeful and anxious. What would she say? Would the spark of courage ignite in her? And then, as if the pause were a heavy breath ready to exhale, Jessica felt her pulse quicken. In that very moment of uncertainty, could the gathering, meant to share stories, transform into a sanctuary that welcomed vulnerability and healing? Caught in that swirling mix of emotions, Jessica wondered if this was just the beginning of stories that needed to be told. But what would happen next when the heart finally summoned the courage to speak? The hush around the park deepened, an electric anticipation hanging over everyone as they awaited the little girl's response. Jessica felt every heartbeat, the pulse of anxiety, hope, and the fragility of the moment. After a lung-wrenching moment, the girl took a shaky breath. "I'm scared, sometimes. I don't like it when we move, and it feels like nobody understands me." Her voice trembled, each word laden with unspoken fears. The weight she had carried, the isolation, bled through her vulnerability. Jessica's heart ached for her, recognizing the universal pain of feeling alone even within a room full of people. A ripple of understanding spread through the crowd as parents nodded, eyes glistening, reminding each soul that they were not alone. The officer smiled gently. "Thank you for sharing that. You see? You're brave for telling us how you feel. Sometimes, that's the first step toward feeling better." His words seemed to create a bridge, one that connected individual burdens with the healing power of community. One by one, others began to muster their own voices. "I felt like that when I changed schools," a boy confessed, glancing at the girl, his pulse steadying with empathy. "It's okay to feel scared sometimes." As stories started tumbling out, a shared narrative weaved its way through the gathering, weaving together threads of anxiety, loss, and the desire for connection. Each tale was met with soft nods, murmurs of acknowledgement, and the fading of previous fears as the community began to feel whole. Jessica glanced at Mike, who gave her a reassuring nod. She could see the light in his eyes. It was clear he understood something profound and beautiful was unfolding in front of them. "Every story matters," Jessica said, stepping closer to the mic, her voice steady now, buoyed by the collective strength filling the air. "We all carry things that weigh us down, but here together we can lift those burdens and help each other heal." The acknowledgement, the warmth that spread among them, flared into commitment. People began to rise and share, each voice adding a layer of depth to their gathering. It became a safe space where laughter mingled with tears, hope stitched into the raw fabric of shared experiences. The little girl smiled wide as she listened, and her infectious spirit renewed the gathering's energy. "Can we have another treasure hunt?" she piped up, bringing back the light-hearted spirit of the day. Children cheered, laughter boiling over with joy as families began strategizing a plan. Just then, as if reading the mood and taking courage from the little girl's enthusiasm, Mike stood up. "How about we get everyone involved in sharing their next story during a treasure hunt? Each checkpoint could be a place for someone to share something new. The crowd burst into applause, excitement weaving through the park like a gentle breeze. Yes. Let us do it. A woman shouted, and others echoed her sentiments. In that moment, Jessica realized the gathering had not only brought their stories to light but had also ignited a sense of purpose, lifting those burdens together. As the first treasure hunt began, they moved excitedly around the park, uncovering not just hidden items, but new stories waiting to be revealed. Laughter filled the air, previous fears replaced by the warmth of connection. Jessica's heart swelled watching the kids gather, sharing secrets at their checkpoints. She could see the sad little girls surrounded by newfound friends, sharing the same feelings of fear and unveiling them as allies. And in the background, Mike stood watching the joyful chaos, a grin of satisfaction across his face. Perhaps this wasn't just a chance for others to heal, it was also an avenue for him. As night began to cloak the gathering, draping them in the soft hues of dusk, Jessica turned to Mike. "We've started something beautiful here, haven't we?" "Yeah," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "It feels like we're all finding our way together. It's not just about the stories anymore, it's about lifting each other, no matter how heavy the burdens feel." In that moment, the previous shadows that once haunted him began to lift, replaced by the shared purpose of the gathering they had created together. As laughter echoed into the evening and the event began to wind down, Jessica couldn't help but marvel at how, in a single day, hearts had opened and walls had begun to crumble. The call for connection had transformed into a heartwarming celebration of resilience and vulnerability. "Let us keep this going," she said, a fierce determination igniting within her soul. "Let us make this a regular thing, a true community gathering where we can share, play, cry, and celebrate life together." Around them, families nodded, laughter still hanging in the air like a melody. And as they all stood surrounded by hope, Jessica realized that in sharing their stories, creating bonds, and lifting one another, they had discovered their collective strength, something that could shine bright against any darkness. In the heart of that park, they all felt it, renewal. They witnessed the transformative power of vulnerability, the healing salve of being seen, and the brilliance overflowing from the unbreakable ties they were forging together. And just like that, life became a little brighter, a little more connected, and incredibly more beautiful. This was the light that would guide them home. As the last light faded over the horizon, a quiet resolution lingered together. They had only just begun their adventure of healing, discovery, and the treasured bonds of community. Now it's your turn to be part of this journey. You need to subscribe now to catch all the exclusive stories and heartwarming transformations that are just around the corner. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who could use a reminder of the power of community and connection. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure that these beautiful stories continue to spread far and wide. And I want to hear from you. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Your voice matters, and together we can create an even brighter community.